First of all, I'd just like to say this is really cool.
Look, can we just talk about something else, please?
Since it's already quiet, I guess we might as well start the team meeting.
What's going on, everybody? Greetings and welcome back to the Little Big Fantasy League podcast. And this is officially episode 11. After we took a break in honor of Memorial Day last week, we're back to bring you the latest in the Little Big Fantasy League and chat about some good old Major League Baseball. And fellas, it feels like it's been like a month since we last recorded.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like so much has happened in the league, and it has been a while. So I'm glad we'll be able to catch everybody up.
Yeah, feels like it's been a year or something, but only been like 2 weeks.
Yeah, nice to see you back here in Michigan, Carter, after taking that trip out to New York. I see you got the New York shirt on, so...
Yeah, I saw the Mets, good game.
Yeah, what stadium was that?
The Mets Stadium.
There it is.
old Mets Stadium. All right, well, we're just going to jump right into it as we usually do, and we've got a couple of weeks to catch up on here. Let's go to week 8 in the matchups here. So, a couple weeks ago at this point now, looking at the top scorers from week 8, getting the gold medal, the league commissioner, John, scoring over 869, winning his matchup against Cade. The silver medal going to the Stephen Hawkings. That was a tough matchup that we'll talk about a little bit there. A close one between me and JD. And Tom is on the rise. The Barrel H Rye guys picking up the bronze medal in a win against the Justice League. Kerry Bonds also picks up a win against Schwellenbach Enthusiast, and Ristopia with a nice win as well. So, Joe, Carter, the two of you obviously getting into the win column that week. I can't relate to you, but must have been a pretty good feeling to get wins against a couple of pretty solid teams.
Yeah, definitely. I going into the week, I was coming off some tough losses, so it felt nice to get back into the win column there against Kyle. Had a pretty close matchup all week there with him, and just kind of pulled it out there at the end. So happy to see that for sure.
And then for mine, extremely tough matchup with Walt there. I definitely thought I was toast. I think I was behind the entire time throughout that matchup, throughout the week. Yeah, he has a very, very super good team there. And yeah, I was behind the entire week. And believe it or not, this was a situation that was like the matchup between Cade and Justice, where that night, Sunday night, I went to bed at midnight and it said I was losing by like 6 points. So I went to bed thinking I had lost the week and woke up the next Monday morning and it said I had won. It was a miracle for sure. So yeah, I was down below Walt with points throughout the entire week until Monday morning. Yeah, I feel really bad for Walt if you woke up to that and saw that, because yeah, going to bed thinking you won and then finding out you didn't the next day, that's got to be brutal. And I was super confused by it too. I'm like, what's going on here? And I did some deeper digging, and there was a postponed game with the Twins. It was a rain out, but the game had already got to like the 4th or 5th inning. And I had Bailey over and Joe Ryan both. Joe Ryan like pitched like as basically relief, which was really, really weird. And Yahoo decided to basically delete both those pitchers' points for that week, and then they just added it, like they made a stat correction that Sunday night going into Monday morning, and it was only like 10 points, but it put me just squeaked by ahead of Walt there. Super close matchup. So yeah, kind of an exciting Monday morning for me when I saw that.
That's actually unbelievable. That's got to be the first time that's happened, probably in league history. So my thought is, if the game didn't go the full 5 innings, they postponed it, it will probably be resumed at a later date. And they might even factor in those points, like for those pitchers and position players, like whenever that game is made up and completed.
Right.
I think they did it. I guess it was postponed. I guess to the next day, and then
Okay.
the next day Joe Ryan did like the bulk relief or whatever. Even though he's like a starting pitcher for that, like he resumed the the game the following game there. So I think the game is completely finished, and that's why they made that stat correction at the like Monday at like 4 in the morning or something.
Yeah, that's a crazy scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be a crappy feeling for Walt, but you know, kudos to you on getting the win and one of the closest matchups that we've seen this year. Um, my matchup with JD, it might not look close with the final score. It definitely felt close throughout the entire week. Will Warren was really like the MVP for JD. We'll get into some transactions later, but I was gonna use one of my two transactions to snag Warren on Monday, and JD just beat me to it, and he ended up having the double start. I think he had the Rockies early in the week too, so it was a cakewalk for Will Warren, who's been one of the hottest pitchers in baseball for the Yankees. And I mean, he ended up putting up like yeah, crazy points. I think he put up like 60 or 70 amongst those two starts combined. And I mean, with that, I mean, if I would have grabbed him, I probably would have won. That's kind of the what I'm getting caught up on a little bit. But at the end of the day, I mean, he had the better team that week, and at the time, he was able to stay undefeated. Uh, Walker Bueller didn't help me out, and AJ Smith-Shawver was horrendous for me. He got negative points and then ended up also going on the IL as well. So like luck was just not on my side, I guess, against the Stephen Hawkings. And in last episode I told him that he had a big storm coming, but clearly my storm wasn't strong enough because I, you know, admittingly ate my words on that and ended up taking the loss, and that's just how it goes sometimes.
Right. I mean, a lot to do with it is just the luck of the starts. Every pitcher can go out there and throw a great game. Every pitcher can go out there and throw an absolute horrendous game. I know we've all had that one pitcher that goes out there, has negative points, and you're like, well, I would have had better off if I just didn't start him. So, it is what it is. It was a tough week for you, but I'm sure you'll move back in that win column.
Oh yeah. You'll get a revenge match sometime this summer. I mean that's a guarantee. So don't count yourself out yet against JD there. There's going to be a revenge game coming down the pipe.
It was less about even like getting the win for my team and more about just like beating him. Like I wanted to dethrone him, and I think this is the perfect segue into the week 9 matchups, which you can now see up on your screen. Once again, the Detroit Mariners, the hottest team in the league, 2 weeks in a row, earning that gold medal, scoring 776 points against the Stephen Hawkings and dethroning JD for what is now his first loss. Of course, somebody had to do it. I kind of wish, honestly, it wasn't John. I wish it would have been me, but it had to be done. And I give a lot of credit to the Detroit Mariners, who seem to be sticking with their team name finally as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest news of all is he hasn't had a name change there in 2 weeks, so that's pretty good to see. Looking at all of these other matchups, it looks like although JD was undefeated going into this week, most teams would have beat him. Tom's team would have, Leo, you would have, John did, I would have, Carter would have, Kyle would have, Walt would have. So most of the teams would have in fact beat JD this week if they went. So see, it's all about that luck, and if it's on your side, that's great. If not, it sucks sometimes.
I fear JD's team still though. Like I don't even know what I'm playing him next. I'm honestly worried about like the next time that I play him because once his team gets healthy, like, he's going to be solid. He's got so many guys on the IL right now. He did have a lot of guys double start against me, and so I don't think he had quite as many guys pitching against John in week 9. But man, I mean, he's to the point now where not only has he used all 4 of his IL spots, and you have to remember that he has to have Ohtani as the pitcher card. in one of those spots too, but he's got like two or three guys on his bench right now that are on the IL. So he's having bad luck in the IL sense, but good luck in his matchups despite not being one of the top, I don't think, 3 point scorers in the league at this point. He's still, I think, fourth overall in points. But he just keeps winning his matchups. But yeah, cool to see John get the win against him there. Carter with a nice showing out with 776 against the Justice League. Carter picking up that silver medal. And then I was able to bounce back against Tom, earning that bronze medal. It was a really tough matchup against Tom. I mean, I was projected to lose pretty much the whole week, and that was with all my guys starting and everything. And it really came down to that Sunday. Everything had to go right for me. I made a last minute switch up to throw Riley Green in my lineup and take Bo Bichette out. Bichette's been hot, and it ended up, paying off for me against Tom there. So it was a great matchup against Tom. I don't think I've sweat more in any matchup that I've had this season. It was just one of those nail biters.
Yeah, definitely. And it's good to see, a matchup we didn't really talk about. Good to see Kyle get back in that win column. And myself, I don't think anybody was really watching this matchup. Quite honestly, I wasn't really either. At the beginning of the week, um, Walt had come out to a pretty strong lead on me, and I ended up pulling it back. And I believe on Thursday, Thursday or Friday, um, I had taken a very slight lead. I believe Friday night I had maybe like a 5 to 10 point lead on him. And going into Saturday, I had two pitchers going. I had Nick Lodolo and Brandon Pfaadt. Lodolo goes out there, throws a respectable 22-point start. Okay, great. Pfaadt is pitching at night that night. I believe, a 10 o'clock start for that game. Um, and I just was not gonna watch that game at all. I was like, Pfaadt's been great his last couple starts, not worried about it. I ended up flicking on the matchup a little bit later to find out that Pfaadt had 6 hits, 8 earned runs, 2 hit by pitch, and he didn't record a single out.
Ooh.
He had negative 34.4 fantasy points.
Oh man.
Um, that is really tough to get in a late week matchup, especially when the rest of your team, a lot of your guys put up 0 points. Yanir Diaz 0, Torkelson 0, Devers 0, Carpenters 0. I ended up on Saturday with a total of 59.8 points for the day, 22 of which came from my one starter that actually performed. So going into the last day of the matchup, I was down by 130 points,
Jeez.
thinking
Wow.
absolutely no chance I come back from this. And I had three starters going, three solid starters, but I was like, there's no way I end up coming back from this. Well, my team comes out and performs. Um, Garrett Crochet, 7 innings, 12 Ks, 53 points. Ty Bradley, 7 innings, 10 Ks, 44 points. Gavin Williams, 6 and 2/3, 6 Ks, 40.8 points. I ended up scoring 197 points on Sunday to overtake Walt at the last minute. And I had overtaken him by about 6 points. It was 746 to 740, and I had no one else going. So I was like, I just need to outlast him. And he had Yamamoto, one of the best pitchers so far going. Yamamoto decides to go out there and save my ass by having a absolutely terrible game and getting like negative 3 points for Walt. And I walked away with it by the skin of my teeth on Sunday night at like, I think like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Yamamoto's out of the game, and I knew I had won it. So absolutely insane. Did not think it was going to happen in a million years. I had already accepted the loss. I had already put the loss on my board and said, "Oh well, I'll come back out there next week." But really, really great performance by my team, and hoping they'll do it again.
that might be the best comeback yet of this year
Yeah,
for sure.
It's got to
That's
be.
an incredible comeback.
Those three pitchers putting up 40 plus points, like
yeah,
to save you like that's wild. And Walt's team has been so good too. Like they've been very consistent. Like I know maybe his record isn't where he wants it to be right now, but 2 weeks in a row that looking at week 8, he put up 737.1. And then week 9, he put up 737.0. So like he's consistent. He's got a good roster. I'm sure he was also heartbroken by that. I mean, that's kind of 2 weeks in a row where one in
right.
week 8, he's disappointed by a stat change against Carter, and then, the following week against Joe, and it's a crazy, like unthinkable comeback due to some really good starting pitching, everything going right. Yamamoto not throwing the game that he wanted to for the Dodgers. So that's got to be heartbreaking for Walt for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't know how close his game was against Carter, so I do feel bad that he had back-to-back kind of heartbreakers there coming down to the final day. So prayers out to Walt for that.
Well, and the league is just so like tight this year from a standing standpoint. Is now you can see the week 9 standings up on your screen here. I mean, look at all these teams at 6-3, 5-4. I mean, every matchup really counts, and it's really starting to be very competitive. The Stephen Hawking still in first place there at 8-1. The Blue Collins Heartthrobbers at 6-3, along with the Detroit Mariners and Riztopia at 6-3. I think it's got to be a good feeling being that high up in the standings there, Carter.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know it won't last long, so I'm taking what I could get for now.
Don't sell yourself short. Plenty of 5-4 teams bye week. Carry Bond, Schoenbach enthusiast. But you look at the points that Walt's put up over 7,200. I mean, he's right up there in the top 3 in scoring. And I was actually mistaken thinking that JD is 4th overall in scoring. I mean, Joe, your team, Carry Bonds, is actually 4th in scoring when you look at it. Stephen Hawking's just about 26 points behind you there. But it's just I don't know what's going on this year with JD's team, man. Like he's 5th in scoring, and not only is he in first place, he's 2 games above you know everybody else. So I just, man, something about the magic of the Hawkings.
I I know when I faced him for my matchup, it was Otani that buried me, and I'm sure that's what happens with a lot of his matchups.
He gets so many at bats. He steals bases. He hits home runs. I mean, it just he's by far the best fantasy player out there right now. And yeah, he wasn't even his first round pick. Looking back, it's crazy because his top pick Juan Soto's not even having that good of a year. And but Otani is making up the slack for that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Sure.
looking at 5-4 here, I'm holding on to the last spot that makes the playoffs. So definitely want to keep stacking up those wins when I can. I'm on a 2 week win streak, so hopefully I'll be able to just keep eking up. 6 plays is where I've been stuck now for I believe 3 weeks. So
Yeah, that'll be really interesting to see how that 6th spot shakes out like throughout the season. I think that's going to be even more competitive than it was last year. It was kind of a horse race at the end last year between Carter and John, and I think there's just a few more teams in the mix this year. Rounding out the bottom of the standings, we've got the barrel aged rye guys at 3-6, Otani's interpreters at 1-8, and the Justice League is in 10th, still yet to get that win. And I'm hoping I can kind of chat with Justice upcoming this week. I'll be seeing him on Sunday. He's a Cubs fan, and so we're getting together with him and some of the boys to see the Tigers face the Cubs, and
Oh,
uh, and so yeah, just gonna be picking his brain a little bit about what's going on with his team because he'll make the occasional move, but he's still rocking guys that don't even see a big league field at this point. So I don't get it, man.
Yeah, hopefully you can, like you said, pick his brain and kind of see where he's at.
That'll be that'll just be in general a really cool game to see because Cubs have been so hot and stuff. So that'll be fun. But yeah, maybe see if you could get a little big league video with Justice that we can put it in a future podcast.
Yeah, I definitely like to. I think at this point he's the only one that has not appeared even in like a recorded video form as an add-on to the podcast. So, still disappointing that John has been our only special guest to join us live at this point, but we do appreciate Walt, Kyle, Tom, and Cade for, at least contributing a couple of clips to help us out.
For sure.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get that second guest on soon.
Who's it going to be? Who do you think it's going to be?
I think if I have to call out one person, I think it's going to be Tom. I think he needs to make that appearance. I think he's itching for it. We just got to get it to work in the timing.
I feel like we could get Kyle on.
I think we could do that too.
There needs to be like FanDuel odds on this because yeah, it could be Tom. I think it could be Kyle. I also think it could be Cade. I think those three are the most likely to join us. I to be fair, like we're giving the opportunities too. Like I've sent out messages in the league group chat to see if people will join. We've done, a couple times where we're asking for special guests to join right on this podcast, and we just haven't really gotten a response back from some people. So, hey, if you haven't been on the podcast yet, get on here. We're actually going to be taking a couple week hiatus after this for another summer break, but like it'll give you plenty of time to prepare for when we're back in a few more weeks for what will be episode 12. So you have plenty of time to practice. It's not that bad, is it, Carter?
No, it's fun, man. That's why I'm here. I didn't know we were taking I didn't know we were taking a break though. A few week break here.
Neither did I.
Yeah, there's going to be some summer activities coming up. We got a big trip out to Seattle coming up in a few weeks here. So
No
uh,
way.
next week is some hockey camp for the high school team. So
Hmm.
time commitments there, and then Joe and I's softball league starting up there as well. At the end of this week carries into next week too, and then yeah, the following week I'll be going out to Seattle. I'll be heading over to a Mariners Red Sox game at some point. So you're definitely going to be seeing
Ooh,
some videos from that.
All
that's
right.
awesome. That would be cool. Is that'd be your first time there or
No, it'll be my second time there actually. It's
second time?
definitely one of the further stadiums, obviously from Michigan. But yeah, my family took a trip back in 2018. Was able to see the Mariners win a matchup against the Royals, and that was a time where I got to catch Salvi Perez up in the Space Needle, and then I got to
Oh,
see
that's
him
right. Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah. I remember
field the
this.
next day. So yeah, like the day before, we saw him up in the Needle. And then, man, to go to the ballpark the next day and to see him warming up, it was just kind of surreal.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
cool.
that's awesome. I remember this story now. Yeah, I remember you going to Seattle. Yeah, that is sweet, man.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get a repeat.
Yeah, it'll have to be somebody from the Red Sox that would be taking a trip to the Space Needle that morning. Early prediction, I'm calling Walker Bueller. He probably knows how many times I've added and dropped him in this league at this point. So he's probably just, I'm gonna meet him up there. He's gonna give me a hard time for all the drops.
Well, if I had to guess, I was gonna say Rafi Devers, and while you're up there with him, maybe you can ask if he's gonna ever move to first base, or if he's still really fighting with the organization on it. Maybe kind of pick his brain, see where he's at with that.
I'll probably ask him if he's better than J Ram too.
Yeah, which, well, the numbers say he is this year, but I don't know.
If I
Well,
if I had to make a prediction, I think it's gonna be Casas on some crutches there because he's just got so much free time with that injury, out all year. I think he's gonna be up in that needle on some crutches.
Yeah.
yeah, you would know best. He's on your IL, so
Yeah.
too good.
Uh,
Alrighty, with that, we were talking about, league members, team owners that have appeared on this podcast in video format. Well, we've got a special treat for you again today. Let's take a look at one league member as he is going to be coming to us from a major league stadium with his girlfriend back on May 25th.
Hey everybody, greetings from the south side of Chicago. Bright and sunny out here, ready to see Corbin versus Martin, White Sox and Rangers, and
once again, we would like
got
to
a special somebody on the field.
And White Sox legend Nancy Faust. She'll be performing in the organ room at
All right, so yeah, Walt, of course, the owner of Bye Week, he's there with his girlfriend Daria. Walt lives in Chicago, so he makes pretty frequent visits over to Rate Field and Wrigley Field as well. This is a White Sox Rangers matchup, and he gets to see the Burgermeister himself.
Yeah, definitely pretty cool. I mean, always good to see a podcast legend, in person. The only thing that would have topped it, I think, is if he got to talk to Mr. Burger himself. But maybe next time.
Yeah, incredible podcast experience for sure with Burger there. You can't beat that, like Joe said.
I mean, he just keeps feeding us content, man. I mean, that's what burgers do. I mean, I made burgers on the grill tonight, and it feeds me, and Jake Burger just keeps feeding this podcast. Well, let's take a look at another clip here. I know, Joe, you said the kind of the cherry on top would be meeting him. Well, this is about the closest that Jake was able to provide to give a great experience to Walt.
Home run for the Burger!
The Burgermeister rounding the bases. He picks up his 9th home run of the season, 7 in the big leagues, 2 with the Round Rock Express in the MILB. And so we update our home run tracker once again. Ever since he got called back up, I don't want to say he's been on a tear, but he's definitely been better than he was to start the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, he's going out there every single day and just trying to prove me wrong as best as he can. I was a firm believer and said he's not making it back to the majors, so he's proven me wrong there because he already did that. And I did not think 40 home runs was even close to a possibility, and he is playing his damn heart out trying to get those 40. So we'll see.
Road to 40, man, it's happening. We're seeing it live.
Not to be able to witness that in person though. Like we had the video from a few weeks back where John and I were in Wayland in John's garage, and we're watching the game, and we recorded that live. Now Walt wasn't recording the at bat, but to even get him rounding the bases and to see that happen in person, like that's pretty darn cool with the story that Jake Burger has been for the Little Big Fantasy League podcast.
Oh yeah, definitely cool.
I would argue that was a life-changing experience that Walt witnessed there.
I can't deny that. Well, if you're on the go and you're in a pinch and you need a quick snack, go ahead and do yourself a favor. Grab yourself a GoGo Squeeze. 3.2 ounces of apple saucy goodness, no artificial anything. It's gluten, nut, and dairy free. And the best part, no spoon, no mess. GoGo Squeeze. Yes, please.
Man, I wish I had me one of those right about now. That would really hit the spot.
It would. Nice cold one, man.
Nothing better.
GoGo Squeeze. Thank you, GoGo Squeeze.
Well, thank you again to GoGo Squeeze for sponsoring this episode. The next segment, we are going to talk about trade offers and transactions since the last recorded episode. So since about May 19th, there's been some trade offers, and there's been quite a few transactions, some ad drops throughout the league. I myself have not partaken too much in the ad dropping up until today, but definitely a lot of other league members have been. So Leo, if you want to start it off, what have your transactions kind of looked like so far since then?
Yeah, for sure. I've had a few transactions here and there. We got into them a little bit earlier in the episode, but yeah, just to talk about them a little bit more here. I mean, I'd say my transactions overall have not been the greatest the last couple weeks here. One that actually has paid off for me though was the ad of David Peterson, New York Mets starting pitcher, and he's been really good for the Mets this year. I mean, I think the pitching overall for the Mets has been a lot better than anybody expected. Now, I did make league history with my drop because I dropped my third round stash draft pick, Tomoyuki Sagano of the Orioles. It was heartbreaking to have to do, but the Heartthrobbers had to do what they had to do. And if I would not have picked up David Peterson in my matchup against Tom this past week, I would not have won the matchup because he ended up putting up a really solid start against Colorado. He put up a 27.9. It was a no-brainer to go ahead and grab a starting pitcher that I knew would be going up against what quite possibly might end up being the worst team in big league history. So
Yeah,
yeah, that was one of the ones I made. I mentioned dropping Walker Bueller. I had to drop him again, and that was so that I could promote Jose Quintana from my IL, who ended up pitching on Sunday against Tom as well. And he helped me out a little bit. I think he had like 7 points. So it wasn't a great start for him. So those have been like my recent transactions since we had last recorded. I also mentioned like adding AJ Smith Shawver, and that was in hopes to beat JD. I actually added him the week before so that I could go into my matchup against JD in week 8 having my two ads still. And he was a huge bust. He actually is going to be out for the season. I think he's going to have to end up getting Tommy John. So not only did he like get me negative, he had two starts for me that were it didn't do anything for me. And then he ends up on the injured list for the rest of the year. I wanted to take a chance at a starting pitcher that was young, that could help me right away, and it didn't end up working out. And I think that's the way it goes. Like I had a couple good transactions the last couple weeks, and I had a couple bad ones.
yeah, definitely. When I was, taking a look to see who was available, and I saw your stash draft pick on there, I was quite shocked that you dropped him, but I understand the reasoning behind it. So definitely, so some beneficial ads for you, some beneficial drops, but some that went against you. Carter, what is your ad drop kind of looked like?
Um, Ooh, man. Yeah, I can't say any of mine have been really great last couple weeks either. I know I think my most recent one was this might be I don't know, this might be controversial, but I dropped JT Remuto. And actually through my entire matchup with Justice, I didn't even run catcher in that spot. My catcher spot was empty there.
I was
And then
so I was so curious to ask you about that because I was like, I mean, I get that you're going up against Justice, but I completely understand why you had to drop Realmuto. He has not had a good year for the Phillies. He's hitting far down in the order, but I was like, you you didn't even have a catcher for the whole week.
no, I didn't.
I've never
It
seen a
still it
team
still worked
do
out pretty
that.
well for me. What's that?
I said I haven't seen a team do that. I think JD maybe went like a week or maybe two without a second baseman for a bit, but like he knew he had somebody coming back. I just thought it was kind of funny that you had nobody in that position.
Yeah, that was a complete empty hole there for me that entire matchup. But yep, I just picked up recently saying I don't know how to say it correctly, Ivan Herrera.
Yeah.
Um with the Cardinals there. Yeah, wasn't really sure who to pick up, but I just felt like I had to drop JT there. I felt like he just really was, like you said, Leo, underperforming for my team. So just wanted to try someone new there in the catcher spot there. But that's pretty much been my only really recent one. I can't remember if this was after when we last recorded the podcast, but I also picked up Logan Henderson, who was really good for the few starts for the Brewers there, and then they decided to send him down very shortly after I picked him up. So that sucks. You'll probably see me dropping him pretty soon here, because he is in Triple A now. So yeah, that was a rough ad for me. I was hoping that was a good ad, but then he just immediately got sent back down. So unlucky for me there.
That's such a tough one too. He's been so good. He's got a 171 ERA. He's 3-0 in 4 starts. And fantasy wise, this is what he's done: 44, 31, 38, 20. And it's like, how do you send a guy down? I don't like. There's got to be somebody else on that team that you could send down besides Henderson. I mean, you're talking about a guy that, like, if he was, maybe getting more starts and they didn't send him down, like, by year's end, if he's putting in a full season, 120, 130 innings, whatever it may be, he's fighting for a rookie of the year spot. He's been that good.
Yeah. I knew a lot of people were upset online with that because, yeah, like you said, he has been that good for them, and yeah, for them to send him down after those starts is pretty brutal. I know I did hear that you were just mentioning innings that, yeah, I guess he's already reached pretty much the innings that he pitched last year. And it is pretty early in the year, so maybe they're trying to be a little, conservative within there to build him up. So yeah, I don't know. It just sucks for me though that I added him and then he got sent down, and then yeah, Quintana just came back, and then Brandon Woodruff, I believe is coming back pretty soon too. So I'm not really sure if he's really going to have an opening in the near future unless someone else gets injured. So we'll see.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, briefly touching back on your point there, Carter, about someone getting sent down. I was actually looking prior to just right before May 19th. May 18th is when I picked up Zebby Matthews. And I was looking prior to that to picking up Henderson. Um, I didn't end up going with him. I went with Mr. Zebby, and he has proven to be pretty solid so far for the Minnesota Twins. I haven't had very many complaints, but like I said, talking about someone that gets sent down like that, and it kind of makes you scratch your head. I myself had a guy on my team get sent down to AAA, and I'm still, scratching my head about it. The Rays decided to send down Chandler Simpson, their speedster. He was hitting 285 in 133 plate appearances this year. He had 19 stolen bases in just 35 games. He did only have 4 extra base hits, but pretty much with him, if it was a single, chances are it was going to end up as an extra base hit because he was going to steal second and then quite possibly third. So, kind of a pondering move here. He did only have 6 walks, and apparently he wasn't showing great defense out there. But it is kind of a head scratcher when you look at other outfielders they have on their team. Specifically, I believe Meisner. He's been really not great for them this year so far. Think they should have sent him down, but instead they sent down Chandler Simpson, who I had called up from my stash, and now my 2 options are have him on my bench or drop him. So I'm kind of going back and forth right now. I think I'm going to keep with him and ride with him on my bench, because I think he does have that potential. And if he just improves on those few things they want him to improve on, then hopefully he'll be back up soon. But definitely a blow when I saw that news. I couldn't make sense of it at all. I saw it and I was instantly upset and didn't understand it.
I think you already,
Yeah.
like, know what you're gonna get out of them too. Like, here's a little trivia Tuesday for you guys. So across now has been 7 seasons, and this includes his 35 games, like, in the majors as well. So amongst his limited time in the majors and his whole minors and college career combined, he's got 485 games played. He's got 2,120 plate appearances, 1,880 at bats. How many home runs does Chandler Simpson have?
Two.
Yeah, I didn't think he was a big power hitter, right?
No, not at all.
Not not a power hitter.
I
I'm
would
gonna
guess.
guess three.
Yeah,
I'll guess two, and one of them wasn't inside the park.
yeah, he's got two. Exactly two. One was hit when he went to Georgia Tech, which was his last year playing college, and then he hit one for Montgomery Double A in 2024 last year. But I actually can't believe that you guys guessed that close, and for Joe to get it right on the money there, that's very impressive. I mean, look, Chandler Simpson's not a power hitter. He's gonna steal you bases. He stole 104 bases in 2024. Like, is he going to develop power? Yeah, probably not. He's probably going to be the type of guy that hits three, 3 to 5 home runs a year. But you've got this guy, that has a ton of speed. That it's going to steal you bases. He had 19 stolen bases in the big leagues. Only got caught stealing 3 times. He's going to hit you singles. He'll get the occasional double and extra base hit, and he'll leg out some triples for you too. But man, I mean, I don't understand what the Rays are trying to do. They're in one of the best divisions in baseball, and you're sending down a guy. You're deflating his confidence, and to me, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, not at all. Like you said it really nice there when you said you look at a guy like Chandler Simpson and you know what you're going to get out of him. He does not have a big build like a power hitter. He doesn't have the swing of a power hitter. He has a slap swing because if he hits it on the ground, there's a good chance he'll beat it out. He's not going to get extra base hits. His slugging percentage is going to be pretty low. But it doesn't matter if he gets a single and then steals a base and it's two bases. I mean, would you rather have a double or a single and a steal? It's the same thing. I mean, obviously, if there's people on base, it's a different story. I get that because chances are, if it's just a single, unless the guy that's on second, it's probably not going to score the run. I get it. But either way, you're going to get the same amount of bases out of him if he can steal the bags, and he can. He has one of the fastest home to first speeds in all of baseball, if not the fastest. So I don't understand why you are sending down a superstar speed talent in Chandler Simpson. It makes zero sense to me whatsoever. All for Jake Magnum, who just got off the IL. What are we doing?
Yeah,
I don't even know that name.
No.
Like, come on
it,
now, Rays. Do better.
it's horrible for your team, Joe. Yeah, I mean, absolutely brain dead decision by the Rays. Like you had said, the stat like 19 steals in that few games at the major league level. I mean, that's super good with the few, I mean, he wasn't up for that long. He already had 19 steals. That's really good. I feel like that's on pace for a 50 plus steal season, so I that's a great fantasy asset. So yeah, pretty horrible by the Rays decision there. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like you were saying, it's same as like a double, and his profile was like all about kind of the singles and the steals, just stealing bases left and right. That was his profile. So I don't really know what they were thinking. I know really the only bad thing was, I guess, his defensive metrics. I mean, that was
Yeah.
really the only thing. So hopefully he makes those adjustments really quickly and gets better defensively very quickly, and then he comes back up real quick here because yeah, just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really had me scratching my head when I saw that news. And then went to actually verify that it was true and saw that next to his name there was an NA. That one definitely did not feel great. But there have been no trade offers in our league in the 2 weeks, or no completed trades, I should say. But there was a trade offer offered to me. This was offered early last week. I received no message about this, no text, no nothing. I just happened to go into the app and I saw um, there was a little transaction, so I clicked on it to see who was sending me a trade, and this trade comes to you from Cade, Otani's Interpreters, um, and it really it had me quite baffled. So he wanted from me Freddie Peralta, a pretty solid starting pitcher. Is good with the Ks. Sometimes struggles with the walks and the control. But overall a very solid starting pitcher. Pretty much the ace in Milwaukee. Um, and in return, he did offer me two players. So he does have that going for him, I guess. But let me key you in on who those two players were. Player number one, Tyler Glasnow. In case you're wondering, Tyler Glasnow is on the 15-day IL. He has spent some time there. Let me just rattle off a couple things. He's pitched 18 innings this year so far. He does have a win. He has, in those 18 innings, he's allowed 9 earned runs, and he has walked 11. So not really a great offer here, considering Freddie Peralta has put up 258 points this year, while Glass has put up 72.8. But then you're like, oh, I bet you the second player is where this is being made up. He offers you a good second player, right? No. No, he did not. The second player he offered me was Mr. Matt Vierling. Matt Vierling, who the day he offered me this trade was not injured. The following day, when I checked the trade offer again to make sure I wasn't seeing things, he went on the 10-day IL. Matt Vierling, who just came off the IL very recently, is 2 for 11. Those 2 hits are 2 singles. He does have 2 RBIs though, for a whopping 9 fantasy points. So between the 2 players he offered me about 80, a little over 80 points, about 81 points, to my 258 from Freddie Peralta. And if I accepted that, I would have had to have dropped a player because he was giving me 2 players. And quite honestly, everybody on my team is better than those 2 players he offered me. So I would have been essentially robbed. I'm not sure what he was thinking in his head when he sent this trade out. I don't know if he misclicked a player or what, or maybe this was after quite possibly one too many brews, or I really don't know. Um, but this I looked at this trade and was so baffled by it that I was like, I need to screenshot this so I don't forget it, and then I need to talk about it on the next episode of the podcast, hoping that Cade listens to this.
All right, let me give you a pulse check on this. I'm gonna give you the Heartthrobbers breakdown and my thoughts on the trade. So, one, you're a Tigers fan, so part of it's trying to incentivize you with the great Matt Vierling, and two, he's a Brewers fan, so he's trying to get himself a Brewer. You know, he just had to drop his prized possession in Tobias Myers, the big trade chip in the Corbin Carroll deal, and so he's trying to get himself another member of the Brewers pitching staff, I think. Now, I will argue this. I don't know if it's as unfair of a trade offer as maybe you're making it out to seem. I mean, I get the whole like argument of points for this year, but Glass now, the Dodgers are optimistic that he's going to be back soon. And I think if Glass now stays healthy, which is a huge question mark, that he has the potential to be better than Freddie Peralta. Would I have accepted the deal? No, even though I love Matt Vierling. I mean, look, come on. I got the rainbow. You know, it's going strong here. It's I don't even know how many I have, and there's there's definitely some more on the way. But that you brought up a really good point. You have to drop a player, so that's not something that I would want to do. That's for sure. Like there's no players on my team right now that I would want to drop. And so 2 for 1s or 3 for 2s are really difficult. And I think that's why most of the trades that we've seen in our league have been even swaps, 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. So is it a bad deal? No. But I think the other thing is like you're in win now mode. I don't think Cade's necessarily in that win now mode. And so I think it almost makes more sense for him to hold on to somebody like Glass now, who's going to be coming off the IL. Yeah, it's an interesting offer.
Yeah, and maybe I was too hard on him, but another thing with Glass now is he has struggled with injuries in the past, and not only that, but he is older than Freddie Peralta. Glass
Yeah.
now is he's almost 32. Freddie Peralta is about to turn 29. So there's a few years there of difference. And I think Freddie Peralta has less of an injury risk. I mean, he's putting up, looking at just the past few years. Last year he pitched 173 innings. The prior year 165. 2022 he did struggle with some injuries. He only had 78 innings pitched, but then the year before that 144. So 3 out of the last 5 years, including this year, he's reached over 140 innings, and this year, unless he gets played with an injury, he'll do the same. So I don't know. It really shocked me that Glass now was in that trade offer with Matt Vierling, a guy who came off the injured list after being injured since spring training, played 2 or 3 games, and then proceeds to get injured again. Like that trade piece, I love the Tigers. I like Matt Vierling. That was not the right incentive I needed. If he would have thrown in, if he had say, let's say he had Parker Meadows, or if he had, another Tigers name, Wencel Perez maybe, a name like that, I would have been like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Like this deal might have gone through if I didn't have to drop a player. But adding a guy like Matt Vierling, it doesn't really do it for me. I like him. I don't love him.
I definitely like him, just not really a great fantasy player though. I think at this point with where the Tigers roster's at, so I get it.
Right.
Yeah, I think we all like Matt Vierling definitely outside of fantasy. We all love him outside of fantasy.
Yeah.
But
Great guy.
yeah,
Great team.
different story on the in the little big league.
I agree with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, interesting trade proposal. I will say there's a couple more transactions I want to highlight here as we'll look to wrap up the episode pretty shortly. But with all the talk of Jake Burger, and we've even talked a little about Jack Peterson too. Like the Rangers are just offensively struggling. Um, Two big names that were dropped since May 19th are both Texas Rangers. And the first one was Marcus Semien. Tom dropped Marcus Semien, who has been just a war machine. I mean, he's a good fielder, but he's been a solid hitter. He dropped him on the 27th and picked up Gleyber Torres. I mean, he had to do what he had to do. And then, Joe, you just made a move to pick up Meadows and to drop Adolis Garcia. I mean, Garcia and Semien are two, potential like big power bats for Texas that just have underperformed. I mean, what do you think that this says about where our league is right now? Because I think one could argue, let me hang on to a guy like Garcia, a guy like Semyon, because of the name, because of what they've done in the past, because they have a ton of power, because they can pick it up come maybe second half of the season. What does it say about our league right now with those big moves that were made by two team owners, and obviously Joe, you being one of them?
I think, quite honestly, it says that a lot of teams in our league want to be as competitive as possible. And I've been going back and forth with the idea of getting rid of Garcia now for most of this year. I really do like his power. I think he's a great hitter when he's on. It's just a matter of him getting on per se. I mean, he'll have a stretch where in a week he'll hit 3 home runs, 4 home runs. It's great. Then he'll have a week where he'll hit 2 singles and pretty much a lot of strikeouts, maybe a couple walks, if that. It's really inconsistency is the name of his game right now. I even had reached out to a couple different fantasy owners, both of them being in this call right now to see if either had any interest in Adolis Garcia. Um, just because I was looking to get him off of my team and I wanted to see if there was any sort of value out there, and no one was really looking for him because he is aging a little bit. I believe he's 32, and I picked up Parker Meadows, a guy who's 24 ish. So I did exchange a lot of years there. Is Parker Meadows an everyday player? I don't know. He'll probably be seated during lefties like Kerry Carpenter is a lot of the time. Is that going to hurt me now having 3 Tigers? It could, because when the Tigers have an off day, there's 3 spots I'll have to fill, and I only have 2 bench spots, one of them being taken up by Chandler Simpson. So yeah, it's definitely gonna hurt, but I think longevity wise here, um, I think the move that makes the most sense is dropping Garcia.
Any
Yeah.
thoughts there, Carter?
Um, just with what you said at the end there, with if you might regret picking up Meadows or not, I think you're in a super good place with making that ad because I think you're at the sort of tail end of the fewest ads of a team in the league. You only have 7 out of 27 ads yet, and we're into June already. So I think if you sort of find out Meadows is sitting a lot and you want to drop him, I don't think it's a wasted ad at all because you have so many few ads. You're not like you don't have to be super strategic with those ads because you're running out or something. You have quite a few left. So yeah, I think you're in a good place with that to basically bank on the upside with Meadows if he does well or not on your team. So I definitely wouldn't worry about that. You'll have different choices if you have to down the road. But yeah, with like dropping big names like that, like you guys are saying, it is a competitive league. And yeah, it's a dynasty league too. So yeah, going for those younger players is always smart. But always chasing some question marks too. A lot of times with the younger players, where with those older veterans, you have more of a stable floor, I suppose. But yeah, I think another thing to remember too is that um, it is like we are only like a 10-team lead. This isn't like a 12-team lead or with like 5 outfielder spots or anything. So I think dropping someone like Garcia, who's had sort of the year that he's currently having, is kind of a safer bet than if you were like in a 12-team or a 5 outfielder league or something. I think it's pretty safe that he might just remain on the wire for a while. So if you see him heat up again, you could watch him closely, and I think there's like a fairly good chance that you could pick someone like that back up. So it is competitive, but it is, I guess, um, slightly more maybe shallow compared to some other leads where Garcia might be like a must hold.
Right, and that's another good point that I did want to bring up. So thank you for bringing that up, Carter. I was looking today at who has, the ads in our league, and I was going into today tied for the least amount with Justice. I now, obviously using 2 of them, have overtaken him, but I'm still pretty much at the bottom there with Justice in terms of my ads. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable about that.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
too.
it's a great point. All right, gentlemen, as we like to close out this week's episode, do we have any thought-provoking statements and shout-outs? We'll throw it to Carter.
Shout out, someone who I am super, super excited for, is actually Detroit pitcher. I believe he's scheduled for tomorrow, Sawyer Gibson-Long. It's someone that, I've been seeing some stuff lately, some buzz. He pitched back in like 2023, has not pitched, I don't think, since September of that year. So it's been a very, very long time since he's been in the big leagues. But I I mean, it sucks for me because Jackson Joe went on the IL with a bit of a disturbing flexor strain there, so I'm gonna watch that closely. But I don't know. I think it's also exciting that Sawyer, gets that chance in the big leagues again since he's been out for so long and made some rehab starts. And yeah, I'm really excited for him to take the mound there and see what he has to prove. Yeah, he has a great changeup and that elite extension. I think it'll be a pretty cool game against the White Sox. Couldn't ask for a better matchup for your first game in the big league. So
That
yeah.
is a good one. That is a good one. I'm excited to see that as well. I don't have any thought-provoking statements, but I do have a few shout-outs here. Uh, the first one I would like to shout out the three-headed monster of Garrett Crochet, Taj Bradley, and Gavin Williams for giving me that win against Walt. Without them, wouldn't have won that week. So that's my first shout out. And the second shout out is Mr. Andy over at Moran Chevrolet, who assisted me in purchasing my new car. So I am now driving a new 2022 Chevy Trax as opposed to my 2005 Buick. So a nice 17-year jump there.
It's a huge upgrade.
Feels good. Feels good, gentlemen.
Yeah.
All right, I've got one shout out. That's going to be Mr. Paul Skenes. Is he my ace at this point? I think he is. I think he has to be. I mean, I know Max Fried having a really good year too, and so is Hunter Brown. But Paul Skenes is my ace. Tonight, he pitched against the Houston Astros. He put up 39.8 fantasy points. And so you're probably thinking, wow, Paul Skenes got the win. He went 8 innings with 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. Well, it's hard to forget that that Paul Skenes is on the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're just, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I'm kind of left speechless looking at what Pittsburgh has done in the last 10 years. And Paul Skenes now has a 4-6 record, a 2.05 ERA. And if you check your baseball encyclopedia and go to the back and you're searching alphabetically and you're looking up the W stat and you see text that says wins overrated, the definition of wins being overrated is Paul Skenes. I mean, a win for a pitcher, when you put up a 2.05 ERA, when you go 8 innings with a single earned run, you expect to win the game. You expect for your team to at least scratch over a couple runs. Well, Pirates ended up losing to the Astros. Paul Skenes ends up with the loss. He still does well for me in fantasy, but Paul Skenes deserves better, is my point.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, if your ERA is a 205, essentially your team needs to put up 2 runs in order to get you that win. And they're not doing that. And that is pretty pitiful to have a 4-6. And your ERA is a 205. So I know there's been a lot of buzz out there that, a lot of teams could put together different trade packages for Mr. Paul Skenes. Quite honestly, I would love to see that because he deserves significantly better than what he's going to get out of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah. It's really really sucks. They have very similar story to like Garrett Crochet with the White Sox there. So yeah, hopefully he can get traded off that team. He deserves it for sure.
Yeah, and with all the other trade talk, well, one thought-provoking statement from myself. I had a prediction earlier in the season that the Tigers at the trade deadline around the All-Star break would be in first place in the Central. I stand by that prediction, and I mentioned that they would look to be trading for a starting pitcher, a top of the rotation type of guy, maybe a 2, um, maybe a 3. And a couple names that I threw out were Michael King of the Padres and Luis Castillo of the Mariners. Both of those teams are doing really well, so I don't see them being moved at the deadline. But I still think that the Tigers will look to make a move for a starting pitcher because they need something to push them over the edge come playoff time. With that, they're obviously the #1 ranked team in baseball right now, which has been awesome to watch, awesome to see. But I think in order to go deep into the postseason and to get to the World Series, that they're going to look to make a move because that's what good teams that are trying to win will do. And so, yeah, I definitely hope to get into that prediction a little bit more once we get closer to the trade deadline later in the summer.
Paul Skenes to the Tigers, you think?
Apparently, that rumor made its way all the way to ESPN. Surprisingly, somebody had
No
put
way.
together a package of it was like Clark, um,
McGonigal,
McGonigal. Who was the other?
Lorenzo.
Was it Lorenzo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I made it to ESPN, so it's not out of the question. But I don't see it happening. I don't think the Pirates are going to move on from him this soon.
Yeah. I would if I'm the Tigers, I really don't want that trade. Because eventually you're gonna have to pay him. You're already gonna have to pay Scooble. And you're getting rid of McGonigal and Clark, who are really showing what they are in the minors. Haven't really heard too much about Lorenzo, but last year he was tearing it up, so I'd imagine hopefully he's doing the same this year.
More to come in another episode on Will Paul Skenes be dealt to the Tigers. But that's going to do it for this week's episode. With the summer activities in full swing, our next episode will be filmed on Tuesday, June 24th. So be sure to stay tuned for that. And if you're, listening to this podcast, watching this podcast right now and thinking, man, I'd love to appear on the Little Big Fantasy League podcast. Well, you can, and all you have to do is reach out to one of us, and we'll make sure that you know where to be and what link to join to record our next episode. You've got a couple weeks to prepare. I know it gets busy coming up for a lot of people in the summer here, but we'd love to have you join us. But in the meantime, we'd like to thank everyone for tuning in and never stop chasing your Little Big League dreams.